What is going on, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, I'm going to talk about what is happening right now and give you a few big updates. We're going to talk about NK leader Kim Jong-un is missing, apparently. We're also going to be talking about the 7.8 magnitude earthquake. 3,800 have perished in the same place that was just blockading the U.S. or blocking a U.S. goal. Russia prepares large-scale offensive in the next 10 days. And then, of course, the U.S. popped the balloon, warns of a response to a clear overreaction. Of course, Chinese sources say that they're pissed. And then, of course, the Chinese spy balloon apparently carried explosive to destroy itself. At least that's what's being said, and they did actually say that it did have explosives on it, but then they said they are questioning and finding it out. But that's not all. We have multiple sources from the Fugel fam, military members, and from Fugel family of military members telling us something. Now, we have some information that, again, we have confirmed, and then some that would put some people in peril. But it is pretty simple of what that is. So I'll go over that at the very end. Of course, let's talk about this balloon that everybody talked about. Now, there was on... first of all, there's a lot being talked about right now. I do want to do some house cleaning. So a lot of people are talking about survival living, stating that he heard that we were at DEFCON 2. And of course, in fact, Canadian Prepper even mentioned survival living and the whole DEFCON 2 situation in his latest video. First of all, DEFCON obviously works a little bit differently. There is the website, the private group that does DEFCON. And then there's how bases put themselves at. Now, I personally believe they are at a higher rating across the country because I have been watching all of these clips coming out from every city. They're doing nighttime exercises with helicopters, with Chinooks, with, of course, with Black Hawk helicopters. They just did one in San Diego. They just did one in Miami. All of these are coming out. And of course, they did one in Seattle, which I got myself. A Black Hawk helicopter flying between two apartment buildings at about 200 feet off the ground. It was the most incredible thing ever, and I was lucky enough to get it on camera. But that was about 6 months ago. Now you have all of these drills back to back. As far as DEFCON 2, we don't know as civilians what they're actually at. So it could possibly be, there could be something there that where DEFCON 2 is, if every base got put on in their own way of DEFCON 2, I wouldn't be surprised by that right now, especially hearing what is going on. Part of the intel, which we'll talk about tonight on Marfoogle TV, our live show, is that they're basically quickening everything. So we'll talk about that here in a second. The Chinese spy balloon carried explosives to destroy itself, or at least this is what they're saying. The Chinese spy balloon carried explosives to destroy itself, was 200 feet tall, weighed thousands of pounds, and its payload was the size of a jetliner. So they're saying this thing was as big as a 747 as far as size-wise, right? It says a top Pentagon official said on Monday. Air Force General Glenn D. Van Herk, commander of the U.S. NORCOM, divulged new details about the downed balloon on a call with reporters on Monday. His description followed a briefing by National Security Council spokesman John Kirby, who defended President JB's decision to wait and shoot it down, the Chinese craft, until it was over the South Carolina's coastline on Saturday. So one thing is they're saying that if it had explosives on it, maybe that's why they didn't shoot this thing down. Some are, theorizing that maybe they knew there was explosives on it, or if there is. Again, they're still questioning if that's true or not. But if there was explosives on it and they knew it, if they took it down and then it landed, it could do damage. And would this be like a 3D, 4D chess type of thing where they purposely did that, purposely put the balloon over with explosives, so if we took it down, it drops, blows up, because they thought any other administration would have just taken it down right over wherever it was, right? But I don't think that that's likely. It said that President B, of course, ordered the balloon shot down on Wednesday, but the U.S. and by the way, that's what he says. He says that on Wednesday, way earlier, he said, shoot it down, and the military said, no, we're going to hold off until it's over the ocean. So shows you how much his word kind of weighs in the situation. It said they held off until Saturday with the Air Force sending an F-22 fighter jet armed with an AMX 9X Sidewinder missile to do the job, which that video is all over the place. Of course, everybody was cheering, saying, yeah. And then we, of course, had the second one over the Americas, as they called it, over the Latin Americas. That balloon, again, that one was confirmed as well. China's foreign ministry on Saturday said that it strongly disapproves and it protests the U.S. decision to shoot down a spy balloon that had been U.S. airspace for the last several days, and warned that it may take unspecified responses to that action. China strongly disapproves of and protests against the U.S. attack on a civilian unmanned airship by force. It says the foreign ministry said the Chinese side has verification repeatedly informed the U.S. side of the civilian nature of the airship and conveyed that its entry into the U.S. due to force majeure was totally unexpected. The Chinese side has clearly asked the U.S. side to properly handle the matter in a calm, professional, and restrained manner. It added that the spokesperson of the U.S. Department of Defense also noted that the balloon does not present a military physical threat to people on the ground. Now, just to go off on a side thing here, there was an explosion over Billings. They are now saying that the video of that was the camera readjusting. After it flew over Billings, Montana, there was an odd, or at least an odd rumor of an explosion in the sky. Now, they're saying that that was debunked because of the timing of the explosion / flash. I don't know, but I think everything is sus right now, and no matter what we see, and if we see an official narrative that kind of totally contradicts something, most of the time, most of us are going to question it and say, okay, is this a cover-up, or is it just legitimately something that, you know, it was debunked, right? I would say either way, us preppers are basically looking at this and staying, you know, on a swivel at all times. It said that more than 3,800 perished in Turkey, and of course, it says 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit. It struck southern Turkey and northern early Monday, killing more than 3,800 people and taking down countless buildings. The earthquake prompted a search for survivors in the rubble in cities and towns across the region. The toll of perished is expected to rise. The W and the H and the O said that the numbers could increase with much as 8 times as rescuers work to find more victims. It says, quote, "We always see the same thing with earthquakes, unfortunately, which is that the initial reports of the numbers of people who have perished or who have been injured will increase quite significantly in the week that follows." The W and the H and the O's senior emergency officer for Europe, Catherine Smallwood, told AFP. Residents in both countries were awakened by the quake several hours before dawn and rushed outside to the cold, rain, and snow. Dozens of buildings in the city and the area were toppled. Rescue workers and residents searched for survivors under the rubble. Now, I just want to point out there's a lot of folks, and I'm not going to put on the hat for a second here, or I'm going to put it on. Of course, there's some theories about that. There was a lot of... First of all, the reason they're theories is because they're not confirmed. There's no evidence to them. But of course, most of you know that they actually do have, and by they, the world governments of this world, they do have some tools and some weapons that we don't know about. Now, I'm not saying that this was the case here, but a lot of people are finding the kind of course in that Turkey just did this thing that kind of blocks and screws the U.S. and others. And then all of a sudden something like this happens, you know, out of nature, right? So a lot of folks are connecting dots there. One thing I would say as far as my opinion on that is there were treaties back in the day that they signed that they said that they would not do that kind of thing, or at least trigger natural occurrences like that, because they had no ability to stop it. They considered it a WMD, that most countries have some sort of way or technique they could do to cause things to shake. That is something that, of course, has been put in writing decades ago. So you can only imagine with the technology and the things that they have today and the advancements in technology, what they could possibly do if they wanted to. But again, there's no proof of that in that case. And then NK, Kim Jong has gone missing ahead of the military parade. Kim Jong-un has not been seen in public for 35 days ahead of an expected mass parade in Pyongyang this week to celebrate the NK's military 75th anniversary. The authoritarian leader skipped a Politburo meeting on Sunday on the country's acute agricultural crisis. It said that previous extended periods out of the public eye have fueled rumors about his deteriorating health and speculation about his possible successor, which, of course, back when he got surgery and they said that he died, that whole thing, of course, was absolutely nuts. They thought that he was, he had some sort of double taking place. People questioned photos of him, that he had, new birthmarks that he never had before, or vice versa. All sorts of weird things. And then his sister started speaking, which we talked about back then. Dennis Rodman, a good friend of his, ex-NFL Rebel guy, he actually would go there on a regular basis, and Kim would bring him there to party. Well, he made public statements after that surgery about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And he said, if you hear his sister talking more, then you should definitely start asking some questions. He says, I can't say more because I'm personal friends with them. But if you see his sister talking in the news, then that's a bad sign. About a couple days later, his sister started talking for him. Now they say that he's back or whatever else, but we don't really know. One thing that the majority of people don't realize is that it's not just in the movies that three-letter agencies have literally put in doubles or replaced governments without anyone even knowing. They've replaced regimes. They've done all sorts of things over our history. And of course, we wouldn't find out until 50, 60 years later when it's declassified. But it says preparations for the possible celebration of the foundation of the People's Army have been underway in freezing conditions. Again, super crazy weather. And it says at the Marin Parade training ground since January, despite a sudden 5-day lockdown in the capital Pyongyang, according to satellite imagery analyzed by U.S.-based monitoring Site 38 North. Videos emerged over the weekend of military aircraft flying in formation at night and low altitude over central Pyongyang. It says in the direction of Kim Il-sung Square, where most of North Korea's public events are held. So they're saying, again, that there's a lot of military activity going on, and especially at night. And then Russia prepares for this large-scale offensive in the next 10 days. Now, this is something that I have expected and many others because the timeline on the Patriot system. But this is obviously going to be in mainstream. Most people are going to just kind of take this as it is. But it says the Financial Times writes that Kiev has obtained, and this is coming from Kiev's side, very solid intelligence of intent by Russia to start a new attack. The offensive will likely aim to capture the entire Donbas region and may begin in the west of Luhansk Oblast, near the cities of Kreminna and Lyman, where Russia has been assembling forces for several weeks. The Financial Times also notes that Russia is building up its troops in the south of the Donetsk Oblast, with additional forces deployed to villages around occupied Mariupol. Now, mind you, they just made some sort of offer. Apparently, there was an offer to Vlad saying, hey, what if you just take all of this area, 20% of UKR? Of course, Kiev didn't want to take that, but if they are doing something like that, it seems like something is up here. Maybe they know what's coming, or there's something behind closed doors going on that we don't know about. Of course, Kiev said, absolutely not. We're not giving up an inch of our ground, all of that. The anonymous UKR military advisor said a renewed Russian attack would probably be spearheaded by elite units. And then these are proper mechanized brigades, even if they are less capable than they were at the beginning of the conflict, which is opinion. They've reinforced the VDV, airborne, and marine units. These are not bus drivers and school teachers, they said. So what they've admitted there is that these aren't the conscripts that they pulled off the street of 50, 60-year-old dudes. These aren't the 100-year-old rifles. These are the elite units. These are the trained guys. These are the real tanks. These are the real things. This is exactly what I said months ago. I said they haven't even started yet. And if we're about to see the start of the real escalation, we already have Leopard tanks and U.S. tanks and Abrams and all of these other things going in, and they're already talking about sending jets. I think Dan, our caller a few weeks ago, was right that they are setting up a system and they're setting up their gear in UKR, and then later on we will fulfill those places. By we, I mean NATO troops will go in there and essentially take the place and run those things. There's a lot of military activity going on right now. And then, of course, I will go over some of this, and this is, by the way, There are multiple Foogle fan members saying that there's obvious information going on that multiple companies are being told to speed up the process. So I'll talk about that here in just a second. But one said, and I'm not going to read some of the names here because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. The wife works at, okay. The wife works at DOD on the east side. We'll just say DOD. One of the colleagues is in the Navy Reserves. This guy, over the last weekend, that they were hurrying to get paperwork done in order because of the commanding officer said that we would be at war soon. Preparedness is accelerating at breakneck speed now. And that's about as much as I can put in there without giving anything that would get these people in trouble. This is one. The next says that they work at a company that makes very specific parts for a thing that we are going to be using a whole lot in almost any conflict ever, and something that is extremely important in winning or losing a conflict. They said that they have also received a memo that they are supposed to speed up basically 1,000% all of their production. Now, we've talked about some of the things and the contracts that have gone in, like the amphibious vehicles and all of these contracts that were supposed to be done by 2032, 2030, 2028, and now a lot of them are being done right now. Right now, you have drills across the United States with nighttime exercises going on with Chinooks, Ospreys. You, of course, got Blackhawks, all of these different things going on across the country. At the same time as you have all of these military all around us, you've got Russian ships off the East Coast, you got Russian ships off Alaska, Russian ships off of course, Hawaii, and then China and everything that's going on with them. Japan has now changed their constitution. Now they are going to be involved in whatever conflict is about to happen. You've got the 101st Division in Romania digging trenches on the border of Russia. And then, of course, you have Germany sending in, gear to Poland. And you have even Israel saying that they might give the Iron Dome to UKR. So you've got a lot of really strange things happening. Guam, of course, got the Iron Dome. That would be to protect us from China, not from any, Middle East threat. So again, this is getting really, really, really extreme. And many are going to be basically stuck and they don't know what to believe because we have been lied to so much that people are going to be back and forth. They're going to be conflicted about what to believe. What I would say is try to stay in the middle. Don't be on the roller coaster of crazy. Don't be on the low and complacent. I would highly recommend that everybody end up, making some basic plans, no matter where you are, whether you're in Europe, Australia, Canada, US, or Mexico, wherever the heck you might be watching me from. Have a basic plan. Our grid has been under attack several times, one after another, which of course they have, Davos says that we're in the next 2 years likely to have a catastrophic cyber event. You've got George, Mr. Soros, saying that the banks are going to cause a purposeful recession. I mean, this is just nuts. From every angle, you have something bad, and people call us the doom and gloomers for saying something about it. It seems like that's what's happening. I do want to I think it was really cool that Canadian Prepper actually backed up Survival Living. A lot of people were giving him flack for talking about DEF CON and things. We don't know the real system of DEF CON. It hasn't been, it's been like that for a long time. Every base could be at a different DEF CON. But we don't know if there's a general thing that's up higher than any of us know that could be, across the United States. If every base was at DEF CON 2 right now, it wouldn't surprise me. And I certainly think that sharing something sharing something that you believe people should know, I think that's an overall really great thing. So that was really cool of them to back up another community member. Either way, obviously, you can see all of our peers are saying the same thing. Make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/EMP if you want to go get yourself protected against an EMP. or a CME. You can get an actual device that can ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your car, your trucks, everything else. That's, again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. When you do that, you end up supporting our independent channel, and you end up protecting your cars, your trucks, your houses, your generators against that kind of attack. That is a big worry to many right now, but I would say just take it one day at a time and try to relax, try to live every single day, and just be thankful that we're breathing and we're here right now. Much love, you guys. Praying for you. For love of country one, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. And again, if you want to go get the backups to this and all of the sources for this show, go over to marfooglenews.com. The full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that I mentioned here is right down below. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you over on our live show. Make sure to subscribe to our sister channel, Marfoogle TV, where we'll be talking about breaking news as it happens over the next 2 hours. So make sure to get over there and subscribe. A live show is about to be going and commencing. So get over there right now. It's about 7:52 on the 6th. Have a good night, guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.